There's some weird behavior going on with the Disneyland reservation calendar, but has it had any impact on crowds at the park? News on the upcoming Christmas season, and the new cast member attendance policy is now in effect. All this coming up next on Fresh Baked. Hi guys, David here with Fresh Baked with some news and updates from around the Disneyland Resort. And today I want to start with some interesting observations that have been made recently regarding the Disneyland reservation system. We watch these things pretty closely around here, always looking for tells to give us some sort of insight about what Disney's future plans might be. And here's an interesting one we've been alerted to recently. You can't make a reservation past January 8th. And we're not talking about Magic Keys. This is the single-day ticket calendar. Single-day tickets are sold and reservations can be made up to 120 days in advance. 120 days from today would be February 2nd. But January 8th, that's just 96 days from now. And actually, it's been this way for a little while. I would say at least a week, maybe closer to 2. Now, one might say that this is a glitch and Disney just needs to update the software, update the system. But I'm positive that Disney is aware of this and this is how they want it. This is intentional. So naturally, I asked the question, why? That is very curious. Why is it? I mean, there's got to be some kind of reason. So I asked Disney, in the chat. I said, is there any reason why I can't make a reservation past January 8th? Disney replied, guests are welcome to make theme park reservations through the end of the holiday season on January 8th. Future dates will be available soon. First thing to observe is that they have connected this response to January 8th being the end of the holiday season. Now, honestly, I actually cannot think of a reason why those two things would be connected, but it was suggested to me that it's possible that Disney is trying to, as part of their way of finessing the reservation system, they're trying to encourage guests to book reservations during the holiday season, prior to January 8th, rather than after January 8th. People go, they're booking a holiday vacation, they can't make a reservation for the dates that they want, the 10th, the 12th, or whatever, so they just modify their plans. Well, I guess now we're going on the 6th through the 8th or something to that effect. But that's actually kind of the opposite of a very known strategy that they're doing today, where they are trying to persuade guests to go during the week and not on the weekends. From a traditionally busier time period, the weekends, to a less busy time period during the week, which, by the way, they have been very successful at. This is going very well. Mondays have been incredibly busy. That's a point, actually, that we're going to be getting into in just a little bit. So likewise, I think that the same would be true, that they would be trying to encourage guests to go during a less busy period after January 8th than they would before. They would try to encourage that instead. Another logical line of thinking is that is the date, January 8th, that Disney has decided that they are going to do away with the reservation system. They've seen the error of their ways. Guests aren't coming back to the park or coming to the park as often as they like. Magic Keys are not renewing at the rate that they thought that they would. In fact, our own unscientific poll suggested that it's maybe half of the Magic Keys renewed. But this actually seems just as unlikely, simply because it does seem like the parks are doing at least reasonably well. Not as well as they could be, not as well as they have been in the past, but well enough that it would encourage them, that they're feeling encouraged that things are going in the direction that they would like them to. For the short term, at least, because we don't know what the long-term effects of some of their tomfoolery is going to have on guest attendance a year from now, let's say. Now, a subset of that logical line of thinking is that perhaps they're keeping the reservation system for the Magic Keys, but they're doing away with the reservation system for single-day tickets. This, to me, seems far more logical. They want to encourage out-of-town guests to make plans without the reservation system getting in the way. The reservation system, if anything, if it does anything at all, it inhibits people's ability to make plans. It doesn't encourage planning, although it might appeal to some people who like to make plans, who like to schedule things, but it absolutely is a hindrance. It is an inhibitor to the long-term planning. That being because you can only book up to 120 days in advance. Only problem with this is that Disney loves the reservation system. At least that's how they make it seem. They can't shut up about how great the reservation system has been and how it enables them to control attendance with surgical-like precision. Those are Chapek's words, or I'm paraphrasing Bob Chapek. So I just can't see them giving up on it, at least not when things appear to be going reasonably well. If the parks were empty, maybe, but they're not. They're not empty. They're pretty busy, in fact. A third possibility is that Disney is working on a new software, an update to the Disneyland app that would allow guests to book and manage reservations through the Disneyland app. And this, by the way, the fact that the guests have to go outside to the Disneyland website and they can't do it through the app is a real pain for guests. There's no reason why the app shouldn't be a one-stop deal. Get the app and you can do everything in that app, and that it should include making reservations or changing reservations. By the way, changing reservations. Let's include that in there too. If they're updating software, it would be great to allow guests. This is something that they're already working with. I think it's in Paris or Walt Disney World. I think, yeah, Disney World, where you can take a booked reservation and change the date without having to cancel it. You just change the date. And so if that is the case, it's very possible that the softwares need a cutoff date, an end date for one piece of software and a beginning date for the new software. Perhaps January 8th is that day. Now, having said all that, I'm not crazy about any of those options in terms of their likelihood, the reasons for the January 8th thing to exist. I mean, I'd be happy if it were the reservation system and if it was going away. I'd be happy with that, but I don't think that that's likely at all. Which leaves a fourth option, something that we encounter often during our construction updates, and that is a completely non-sexy, non-interesting reason for the January 8th date, and that it's just going to resolve itself in a few days, and we're not even going to be able to talk. It's not even going to be a topic, which, I mean, to the point where I need to hurry up and make this video. Otherwise, this whole conversation is going to be obsolete. And that seems to me to be the most logical thing, is that there's some fourth unknown benign reason. I would much rather be one of those other ones, because I feel like the reservation system still is imperfect, to say the least. But I have a feeling it could be something like that. Stay tuned, I guess. But before we leave this topic, there's one other observation a friend of the show made that I think is kind of interesting. While watching the reservation calendar, Saturday, October 1st and Sunday, October 2nd were suddenly showing as blocked for the Inspire key. Not sold out. Those are the circles with the line through them. The dates with the backslash are blockouts. Of course, neither the 1st or 2nd are actually blocked out for the Inspire key, and in this case, a few minutes later, those dates return to being available again. The observation here, of course, is that Disney is finessing the reservation system. They're constantly finessing the reservation system. The fact that it was just a few minutes, 5 minutes, is irrelevant. The fact that it happened, the fact that those dates toggled to begin with, is an interesting observation. To what end? I don't know. I don't actually have any idea why they would toggle those two dates on and off like that. To what end? I don't know, actually. I can't think of a reason why that they would need to do that, why they would need to toggle those dates for just a few minutes. And again, it could probably be nothing, but the fact that it did happen is further proof that Disney is, or I don't know, another example of Disney trying to do something, trying to tweak and finesse the reservation system in some way. And on that note, I would encourage you guys watching, kind of like a street team thing. If you see things like this, if you have a curious, observation about the reservation system, about making dining reservations for that matter as well, any kind of peculiar behavior in those systems, I would love to hear about it. Folks were asking me about the January 8th thing. I've got numerous emails about that. I don't always catch it as fast as you guys do. Let us know. Send me an email, david@freshbakedisney.com. I'm very interested in these kinds of things. Okay, I mentioned earlier that the parks seem to be doing reasonably well. They're certainly not dead anyway. And I had also mentioned that Disney seemed to be doing a pretty good job of persuading guests to visit on the weekdays rather than on the weekends. Monday is the new Saturday. We did a whole video about that topic, observing a trend that we had noticed recently, that it had become increasingly busy during the week, so much so that it was even more busy than some days on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, I wasn't in the park this past Monday, but we can check the app to see how things went. I did just that. I checked the app at about 1:30 yesterday to see how crowds were doing. Alice in Wonderland, 40 minutes. Astro Orbiter, 30. So far, so normal. Autopia, 35. With a return time in 30 minutes. Pretty good. Big Thunder's closed. Buzz Lightyear, approaching an hour. Hour and a half return time. That's pretty high. Let's see. Dumbo, 30 minutes. You're seeing the same thing we saw a few days ago, a couple weeks ago actually, where the non-Lightning Lane attractions are performing as normal. It's the Lightning Lane attractions that are seeing the big jumps and standby, like Haunted Mansion Holiday. 95 minutes at 1:30 in the afternoon with a return time of 9 hours from now. Oh my God, this is like what happened to Liz and I. Like maybe we'll get a fast pass for, we'll buy Genie Plus that one time. No, if you don't get Genie Plus in the morning and get your fast pass in the morning for Haunted Mansion, you're probably not going to see it until the end of the night. Oh my gosh. Indiana Jones, hour and a half standby, return time of almost 6.5 hours from now. Meanwhile, Small World, 25-minute standby. Jungle Cruise is approaching an hour. This is probably an effect of Haunted Mansion. A lot of people are, we haven't got to Pirates yet, but I would expect the Pirate standby queue to probably be a little bit higher than usual. Mad Tea Party's 20. Winnie the Pooh is 25. Millennium Falcon, over an hour with a return time of almost 3 hours. That's actually kind of high for Smuggler's Run. And then here we go. Standard times again. Toad standard, Peter Pan standard, Pinocchio standard, Pirates of the Caribbean. There you go. 60 minutes. That is higher than standard. Normally Pirates is 30 or 45 minutes. It is now an hour. That is the effect of people they're getting the overflow of the Haunted Mansion. Standard for Snow White. Maron. 100 minutes for Space Mountain. I am so tempted to just get in my car, drive down to Disneyland, and get in that queue just to find out. Why am I a sicko like this? 5-hour return time that's high. So people are buying Lightning Lane today. Even Star Tours is almost an hour. People are buying Lightning Lane, including they're selling out, it looks like, I'm assuming, for Rise of the Resistance. Guys, Mondays, man, no bargain. And that includes, it appears, I know this is a small sample, it appears that this is affecting Universal Studios too. They're getting the same thing. Somebody reported on Twitter, hey, it's way too busy for a Monday. What's going on? They don't watch Fresh Baked. So this is at least 3 weeks in a row now that we have observed this situation, that we have had the feeling that Monday was super busy, way busier than it should be or normally had been historically on Mondays, busier even than on a Saturday or a Sunday. And there were other dates as well, other weekdays where we observed it but didn't really make a point of noticing a trend, just kind of cataloged it. So I think we could say this is no longer an anomaly, a curious thing that's happened on a Monday. This is now firmly in the definite thing status. Mondays are as busy as any other day in the park, busier even than most all days. I would say even more busy than I've seen on Saturdays and Sundays. Not that it's affected Saturdays and Sundays too much. They're pretty packed still. Saturdays and Sundays are still pretty busy, which again suggests that whatever Disney is doing, it's going well. If they have been able to maintain capacity levels on Saturdays and Sundays and increase capacity on the week or during the week, that's a good job on their part. And circling back to our initial conversation, this is due to the reservation system. So I don't think it's likely at all that whatever it is that they're doing on the 8th has to do with them trying to end the reservation system, if only because look at the obvious evidence that we have in front of us. What they're trying to do is working. Okay, so as I record this, it's October 3rd, and you know what that means? Time to start thinking about Christmas. Disney has confirmed that the Candlelight Procession will be back again this year on the same exact schedule as last year. There will be 4 total shows, one at 5:30 p.m. and one at 7:45 p.m. on Saturday, December 3rd and Sunday, December 4th. And as usual, it is next to impossible to get an actual reserved seat for this show. Seats for the shows will be for invited guests, VIP members, a Club 33, that kind of thing. You cannot just show up and get a seat. Not like you can at Walt Disney World where they have dining packages and everything for this. This is a very exclusive event. Now, I expect, as in the past, there will be seats for general guests, people who just show up and sit down, like the benches that you see on Town Square, around the edges of Town Square. I'm sure those seats will be available this year. But if that is your goal, they will be gone by 7:30 or whenever it is that they actually open the gates. If they open the gates at 7:30, those seats will be gone immediately. As a matter of fact, it's getting there at 7:30 is already too late. You probably need to get to the park, I don't know, 6:30 or something like that. I have no idea. I've never tried before, but you need to get there darn early to get one of those seats. One thing that they won't let you do is just stand there and wait on the streets of Town Square, the street around Town Square. They need to keep that those areas open. The procession starts at the top of Main Street at the Plaza Point gift shop. They'll come from backstage, and the whole procession will go down Main Street. It's quite lovely, actually, especially when it's super dark and all the candles and everything. The procession will move down Main Street, and you can wait on those just like you would wait for a parade. Now, having said all of that, if you are in the parks on December 3rd or December 4th, and you are not interested in seeing the Candlelight Procession, I highly recommend you remove yourself from that situation as far as possible. Find some other things to do. Don't be anywhere near Main Street during the evening those 2 nights. Especially, don't try to leave the park at this time of night. I have done that. The scariest scene that I have ever experienced at Disneyland, and I'm being honest, this is not hyperbole, I'm not exaggerating. The scariest situation that I ever experienced at Disneyland was when I tried to leave the park as a candlelight procession was happening. They were mid-show, and just the mass of people that were collected in front of, like City Hall, for example, at the tunnel, nobody moved. We were like sardines, and nobody moved in any direction. It was really kind of freaky. Now, I don't expect it to be like that this year. Matter of fact, I haven't seen it like that since then, simply because the parks aren't as busy today as they were back then. The event wasn't the spectacle then that it is. Well, I guess it is still a spectacle, but people have sort of come to an understanding where to be and where not to be on those evenings. Still, I highly recommend don't be anywhere near Main Street around 6 o'clock on December 3rd or December 4th. By the way, no word yet on who the host will be. That's not something that they usually announce. I think I've heard rumors of it like a day or two before, but it is often the case, as memory serves, that they don't even say anything until the day of the actual Candlelight Procession. Okay, last item for discussion. The new cast member attendance policy went into effect last Sunday, October 2nd. This is newsworthy, of course, because this new policy could affect cast attendance, could affect it for the good, could affect it for the worse. Good if it motivates cast to show up as scheduled, calling out less often, but bad if it creates more dissatisfaction with cast and management, and it sort of persuades them, it might motivate them to leave and look for other work. Now, we've seen some of the effects of cast attendance, whether or not it's related to the new policy. We've seen, since the parks have reopened, the effects of cast attendance on the parks. We've seen, areas of business they can't even operate because they don't have enough cast, most recently at Tropical Hideaway. And we've also seen it with attraction breakdowns. By all accounts, according to anybody who's observed this with any kind of discerning eye, there have been considerably more attraction breakdowns than there used to be. And it's taking considerably longer for the attractions to come back online. It's on this topic that I'll be watching in the coming weeks and the coming months to see what the effect is of this new attendance policy is on attractions. Will the new attendance policy make the situation with attractions better or worse? For example, as I write this, at 10:27 a.m., there are 5 attractions down: Astro Orbiter, Big Thunder, King Arthur's Carousel, Pinocchio, and Snow White. Now, having said that, a couple hours later, I checked the app again. There were no attractions down. So I don't know which situation is more indicative of what's going to happen, or what's happening in the present, or what's going to happen in the future. But I can say that 5 attractions down at 10:27, that's not a little. That's maybe a lot, but no attractions down, that's good. So we're going to stand by. I'm going to do my best to try to monitor this and see how that goes. Again, for those of you watching, I would love to hear from you. Hit us up on Twitter or something like that. Just let us know if you see attraction going down or if you see a situation occurring that it seems out of the ordinary. Hit us up and let us know. And then until next time, follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked, on Twitter at FreshBakedDisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakedDisney. And if you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Baked.